Today I've got the update for the AC install on the LS Swap C10 and then a couple other small updates on the truck as well. Starting off here where I left off in my last video. I showed how I mounted the AC compressor. I talked about how difficult it may be to remove if I had to replace it. Well, coincidentally, the compressor I had on there had a bad clutch. It was shorted out internally, so I had to replace it. I found that there's inside the frame rail, there's a brake line and a fuel vapor line that I just had to bend and move out of the way. Once I did that, I was able to get to that rear bolt at the bottom, and I was able to replace the AC compressor without lifting the motor up out of the motor mount. So it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. But getting on to the rest that was done. So since the last video, I installed a new evaporator inside the box here. I also insulated the inside of this box with some Dynamat knockoff called Fat Mat, trying to help keep the heat from the header away from the evaporator so it can be as effective as possible. I installed a new dryer. I used an insulator off of like a 2001 model Chevy truck. I had to cut a slot here to make it fit this dryer, but that should help it to run cooler as well. For the AC hoses, what I did was I took the fitting, the original fitting from the dryer here, and the original fittings that I found for the compressor down there. This one was straight for the low side, and the high side had a 90 on it. I took this fitting in as well, but they wound up replacing it because of the angle. I think this one was straight on the truck originally. I'm not sure the shape of it, but we wound up buying a 45-degree angle there. So I took those 4 fittings to him, told him what I needed. Actually, I took the truck up there too, which helped to make it easier. And then I told him the length I needed from this point to this point, and they were able to make a hose that long, and they welded on a crimp fitting here and made the hose that I needed. It cost me about $105 to have these 2 hoses made. So that's how it works for having the AC hoses adapted. I also have a new evaporator in already. So once I got all that on, I drew a vacuum on the system and then charged the system, and it worked. But once I removed the fitting from the high side, I noticed it was leaking. Come to find out, it had a bad strainer valve inside of it. But when I tried to remove the strainer valve, it broke in half, and half of it stayed inside on the old line. So that's part of the reason it took me so long to get an update video, is I had to order this line that goes from the evaporator to the condenser. Here, let me show you better. From the condenser across the bottom to the evaporator. So about 2 days ago, I got that hard line back in there, drew a vacuum on the system again. Drawing a vacuum on the system before charging it with AC, or excuse me, with 134 is important, because the vacuum, you let it sit drawing a vacuum for about an hour or so. Some will say 30 minutes, some will say up to 2 hours. But that puts a negative pressure inside of the AC system and removes the moisture. You don't want moisture in there, and you don't want air in there. And then you fill that void with the 134 once you fill it up. So last night I got it all charged up, and it's blowing cold. We got Frio. It's blowing cold. One thing to note, okay, these 2 wires right here, I got them loose here still. I just wired in a fan relay last night. But what I want to tell you is these 2 wires, they used to run to the top over here for the original AC compressor and came across. But I pulled them this way. I ran that colored one. I'm colorblind, so I can't tell you. What is it, green? I ran that to the compressor to turn it on. The other wire on the compressor just goes to a ground. Then this wire here, it also is hot when you turn the AC on. So I use that to trigger my relay for my electric fans. That way, anytime you turn the AC on, the fans will be on. You have to have an fan blowing when the AC is on. You got to get the air blowing over the condenser and get the heat out of the condenser. It's a must, not just for the AC to blow cold inside, but also to keep the pressures down on the high side. Something I need to add that I thought about after making the last video, talking about the motor mounts down there. For all of y'all, well, I guess I also didn't tell you that I wound up notching my frame. Put a notch right there for the hoses. Okay, now on the motor mount, For all y'all trying to using mine as a model, you need to note that I'm not using the common motor mount adapter plates. The most common motor mount adapter plates that people will use is the 1-inch setback plates, swap plates. Mine are the central mounted swap plates. So if you're using the 1-inch setbacks, your compressor is going to be an inch further back than mine. That means you could have interference with this plate right here. So just plan and prepare for that. I don't know what you're going to do. Trim that plate, make your own plate. But just make sure you take that into account when you're planning out your AC install. The couple other small updates that I have for you is that I got new tires for the front. The other tires that I had were destroyed from driving to LS Fest last year with a bad alignment, without having alignment done beforehand. And after I lowered the truck, didn't have time to get alignment before LS Fest, and it destroyed the outer edge of the last set of tires. Those other tires I had were too skinny also. I didn't like them. They were 225/70/15. So I went up with a wider tire. These are 255/60/15. Got the alignment rechecked also, and everything looks good. So we got good tires on the front now. Another update is I went with about a 2001 Chevy truck brake master cylinder. Some buddies on the Gearhead for Life group page on Facebook were talking about it. So talking about it for the 88 through 98 trucks. So I went ahead and tried it on mine, see if it worked, and it works. This upgrade, not only does it look better, it also takes the mush out of the pedal, so the brake pedal is more firm, makes the brake pedal feel better. It requires an adapter fitting. That adapter fitting is a Edelman brand 258306. My last update for today is I finally got a better cup holder in here. That's a 2001 Chevy truck console. I cut it in half and used just the cup holder part. I used the sides from what I cut in half and plastic welded on the back and on the front to close the holes. I used L brackets on the inside to bolt it down. I've always wanted a power inverter on my console, so I mounted a power inverter on the back of that console there. I haven't hardwired it in yet. I'm just using it in the cigarette lighter for now. But now I've got 110 volts when I need it for a laptop or something. But the big things I like about this cup holder is it's up higher so the heater doesn't blow on my drink. These cup holders, not only their shape but also these rubbers, hold your drink real well so it doesn't flip out when you're doing the curves or braking hard or accelerating hard. I keep a 1 liter water bottle in here and it doesn't fall out. It's excellent. I love it. That's all that I have for y'all. If you like what I'm doing, you want to see more, hit the like button below and subscribe. I've got more videos coming out. I try to put one up every 2 weeks. Y'all have a great weekend, be productive, and keep on wrenching.